It is August 8th, 2011 on this Monday edition. This is a Infowars special report, and viewers at pacman.pt.vu should note that starting Thursday, September 1st, and just about 2.5 weeks from now, we're going to have a nightly news program for 30 minutes at 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can follow showtimes and listings for the information at pacman.pt.vu and Infowars.com. But we'll also be doing these special reports. In some cases, they'll be 10 minutes, an hour, or even 2 hours like we did a few weeks ago with Mike Adams, the health ranger, and, of course, Gerald Celente just last week, Sheriff Mack, and others. Now, getting straight into the news, this was the biggest drop in the Dow since the credit crisis of the fall of 2008, and we saw a 600-point drop today on supposed concerns over Standard & Poor's lowering the debt credit rating of the United States of America from AAA to AA+. Also, the major Chinese government ratings agency has now dropped their rating for the second time in the last year and a half. The truth is this country has been completely bankrupted by design by the big six offshore megabanks, and we are being financially conquered through this fraud. Continuing with looking at what happened with the stock market today, it caused gold on concerns of massive inflation and dollar devaluation to surge to another all-time high. In fact, it was up over $50 today than its last close to $1,718.30. It saw highs above $17.20 earlier in the day, and now J.P. Morgan, which is at the very top of the bankster cartel food chain, has come out with some sensational news. They'd already predicted that by the end of 2011, you would see above $1,800 an ounce gold. But now, J.P. Morgan's top analysts are reporting that they believe gold could easily top $2,500 an ounce by the end of 2011. And remember, that's not because gold or silver are really going up in price, or not that oil's even going up in price, or rice for that matter. It is inflation. And when they announce that they're going to continue to devalue the dollar, continue rampant spending, and continue bailing out megabanks, that signals to the world that the dollar's days are numbered. And that's exactly what many of the big central banks want, is to basically expand their world government on U.S. dollars and then leave the United States holding the bag. Then the mega banks will then offer the next level of their Ponzi scheme, a new global currency. And the communist Chinese are calling for that and basically lecturing the United States. Putin is calling the United States parasites, when the truth is the multinational mega banks are the parasites, the same ones feeding on Europe, the same group that over a decade ago completely looted Russia. And so Russia is not parasitical. The Europeans are not parasitical. The people in Argentina raped by the global banks are not parasitical. The American people are not parasitical. The oligarchs, the finance oligarchs that run our society are the real parasites, and that's the rest of the story on that front. But incredible news, because the kingpins wouldn't be saying this unless they intended for that to actually be the case. In some of the other financial news dealing with the AAA rating being lost, the communist Chinese came out and said dollar to be discarded by world. And again, the Chinese are teamed up with George Soros and others, trying to set up their new private bank of the world, where every man, woman, and child will pay carbon taxes directly to the communist Chinese and George Soros, Al Gore, and others for the right to even breathe. A human exhaling of carbon dioxide is seen as a crime. Continuing, debt insurers brace for impact of U.S. downgrade. Reuters, AP, and others reported. And that's the big issue. Every state in the United States, all 50, all of the thousands of counties, cities, and towns are linked directly to the credit and faith of the United States government. And so now, because of that downgrade, they're moving to take away the AAA rating of many cities, towns, and states. And then that means that the people and the taxpayers will pay even greater interest rates to the very banking cartel that created the global crisis with the 1.5 quadrillion that they created. And continuing, Moody's, though, has backed the U.S.'s AAA rating as S&P cuts the credit rating for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and others. So not a good sign for the U.S. Housing market. Now, shifting gears into the political fallout from this, if you go to the Drudge Report, you will notice that it has had continual coverage up on the site today following the record plunge in the last 3 years. And if you go down to the right-hand corner, the news giant linked to our report, that is a breakdown of a series of polls conducted by the prestigious polling agency Rasmussen. Pollster, Americans are pre-revolutionary. And it goes through the fact that the U.S. Congress has the lowest approval rating in its history, and that just 17% of Americans believe that the U.S. government has the consent of the governed at an all-time low, especially with the new super Congress now controlling the House and Senate, 12 members, with Obama as the 13th. Ron Paul and others saying this is clearly unconstitutional. And here you have one of the top polling agencies in the country and their pollster, Pat Cadell, saying that this indicates that Americans are now pre-revolutionary, and he described the outcome of the poll as unprecedented. He said there is a sea of anger is churning as Americans want to take their country back. And that's why we're now seeing the rebranding from Homeland Security and TSA and the face scanning cameras and the license plate reading cameras being for the, quote, Muslim threat. The military-industrial complex owned by the same mega banks that have now conquered us through financial fraud are basically almost complete in their takeover of the Middle East and Central Asia and wreaking havoc there. So now they're moving away from the al-Qaeda boogeyman over to the American people. And who do they say they are? Returning veterans, gun owners, libertarians, white males, but anyone else who is into freedom and liberty. And we've seen the last 2 weeks the full rollout of this with scores of top Democrats, including the vice president, saying the Tea Party are terrorists. And they're continuing along that line with former presidential candidate, Democratic Senator John Kerry, testifying today that the Tea Party caused the downgrade. The headline is Tea Party Downgrade. Associated Press, CBS News, and others are reporting White House advisor blames Tea Party for downgrade. If you slip on a banana peel, it is the fault of the Tea Party. Here's another one. Downgrade puts pressure on debt. Super committee. Now, it is the Tea Party that no doubt, and it's a diverse group. They're not perfect. The Republicans have tried to take it over. But for those that don't know, it was founded by Ron Paul supporters here in Austin, Texas, and also spontaneously in Boston, Massachusetts in 2007. And it was a libertarian constitutional view of fiscal conservatism, but also anti-preemptive imperial-style aggressive war. That group, by 2010, had been pretty much taken over by Republicans, mainline Republicans, but still the core of the Tea Party is anti-war, anti-Federal Reserve, pro-U.S. sovereignty, everything that the globalists are diametrically opposed to. And so that's why they're telling you the Tea Party's going to bomb police. The Tea Party caused the downgrade. The Tea Party, if it rains a little too much, they did it. It's not the fault of Alan Greenspan, who got rid of the Glass-Steagall Act and allowed the six big mega banks to create over $1,500 trillion in fraudulent Ponzi scheme instruments that they then induced under Bush and now Obama, our government, to sign on to and pledge the people's credit and faith to. No, it's not the fault of the banksters. It's not the fault of the $1 trillion wars. It's not the fault of all of the incredible corruption or dollar devaluation that's led us to this point. It's now the fault of anyone that calls out the private Federal Reserve as an alien, outside, anti-American institution. Remember 3 years ago when Alan Greenspan, former Fed chairman, got on Lair NewsHour and said, I am above the law, the Federal Reserve is above the law, no one can regulate us, no one can challenge us. These are the people that are truly guilty, not the core of the Tea Party that actually is aware of the global government and how we're being conquered through financial fraud. Now, in closing, I want to show you a new clip, this time of the prostitutes on NBC's Meet the Press. It's a short clip, and it's in Kurt Nemo's Infowars.com article.